President Obama rejecting the GOP call to delay the nomination of a Supreme Court successor for Justice Antonin Scalia.
I intend to nominate in due time a very well-qualified candidate. If we are following basic precedent, then that nominee will be presented before the committees, the vote will be taken, and ultimately they'll be confirmed.
Is there any way President Obama could get a nominee confirmed by the Republican-controlled Senate? Fox News correspondent Shannon Bream is here. Shannon, anyway, even a moderate.
You know what? I have had one GOP senator to tell me privately if the president put up someone that was viewed as a consensus pick that they could agree on, that could be a moderate, they could pull away some GOP votes to get that done. But he doesn't think that there is such an individual currently out there.
All right. So how does this play out? The president's going to nominate someone, and then the Senate just sits on it and doesn't hold a hearing?
Well, according to all of the 2016 contenders who happen to be U.S. senators, they have no plans to let it move forward. When asked whether he would filibuster, Ted Cruz, who sits on the Judiciary Committee, you know, he clerked at the Supreme Court. He said, absolutely, that is the plan, to filibuster. Obviously, you have to hold the other 60 to do that. So,
you know, there's something, though, a little bit. I know that a lot of people think that that should be done that way. But the fact is that we have a process. The Constitution is our process. And it says he shall nominate. And the Senate has a right to just sort of sit on it. But you know what? The shoe's going to be on a foot another time. It'd be nice to set a precedent where they at least hold a hearing, and so the person gets a fair shot. And if the person doesn't get confirmed, doesn't get confirmed. But you know, when are we going to sort of reverse this and have a precedent where everyone's sort of acting according to the constitutional process?
I would not say this year. I don't think this will be the year.
I shouldn't bet on it then.
No, don't bet on it. But President Obama did try to appeal to that today in his remarks, saying, listen, the Constitution does tell me that as president I nominate. They have to consider.
Shall.
Right. And they have to consider. That doesn't mean they have to approve. This is not an appointment. It's a nomination.
But they're not even getting to that. They say there's going to be no hearing. Senate says we're not going to consider. They're stopping it. And that's what the problem is.
Yeah, there are those who think that Chuck Grassley, the Republican senator who chairs the Judiciary Committee, may actually be considering allowing there to be some type of hearing. I mean, that he's kind of between a rock and a hard place. I think it all depends on who gets nominated.
I know. I think they'd be wise to hold a hearing. If they don't like the person, reject at the Senate. But just to look up, you know, not to do anything, and then we're just going to go through this another time.
I nominate you. I'm not the president. I'm not the president, but still.
Thank you. Shannon Bream has nominated me. Thank you, Shannon. And the battle for Supreme Court nominee is turning the political world on its head.
The Constitution is pretty clear about what is supposed to happen now. When there is a vacancy on the Supreme Court, the President of the United States is to nominate someone.
I think the Senate Republicans should take a very, very careful look at it. It would be best if it was left until the next president was elected.
The president has the right to nominate under the Constitution, and the Senate has the obligation to process that nomination.
The president has an absolute right to nominate whoever he wants to, but the Senate has an absolute right to confirm or not confirm.
The next president of the United States will determine whether the people that serve on that court are like Justice Scalia or whether they're like some of the other justices that are on there now.
And then you got to fight. You got to fight for it because there's a lot riding on this.
The On the Record political panel is back. Betsy, weave this into the scenario that we have. Now we have an open seat on the Supreme Court and a nomination's coming from the White House. How does it play out in the races?
I think all the Republicans say what we've been hearing, which is they can't confirm anyone, and regardless of whether or not...
Can't confirm or don't think there should be a hearing?
Perhaps not even that there should be a hearing. Because, look, this issue is so good for Ted Cruz, for Donald Trump, for Marco Rubio, for the further right, more conservative guys, because they can say, who cares about precedent? We don't want Obama putting another liberal on the Supreme Court. Just let the clock run out. That's what they want. Look, and IJ reviewed a really interesting poll of viewers of the Republican debate on Saturday, and they asked what candidate these folks trusted the most to appoint a Supreme Court justice, and it was Ted Cruz by about 5 points. So these folks aren't going to say, oh yeah, just have a hearing and, you know, do the thing that's decorous. That doesn't help them at all.
All right, we're going to bring the viewers in on this one. Now is your chance to vote at home on Twitter. Will President Obama appoint a liberal or moderate justice? Tweet the word liberal or the word moderate using hashtag Greta. We'll show you your live Twitter votes throughout the show. Guy, is there any advantage to, I mean, if they had a hearing and if it went to the floor, Senator Ted Cruz have a chance to stand up and recite everything that Scalia ever did?
Well, look, I think that there's not going to be a selection from President Obama that Republicans can support, and therefore there will not be a confirmation of whomever he puts forward.
So they're going to get out of the hearing if they had a hearing.
Right. You could have a hearing in committee, have it voted down in committee. If it somehow got on the floor, it's voted down on the floor with the Republican majority. If it somehow were a majority...
After an opportunity, everyone to speak on the floor about it.
I mean, there are many different avenues to get to not a confirmed nominee, and I would be absolutely stunned and floored if President Obama gets someone through. He won't.